What is up, YouTube? McIntyre here. Today I wanted to bring you guys a new video talking about Apex Legends. This game has taken over most of my time since the release, and I know a lot of players out there right now might be just starting to play it. So I wanted to make this video to basically break down the characters, talk about what each of them do, and how strong I think each character in the game currently is. I just hit level 30. I think I've probably won about 20 games, 30 games at this point. I've had too much fun with this game, so I wanted to kind of share, and I know on my stream a lot people ask about the characters and how strong I think this character is and that character, so that's more or less why I wanted to make this video. So talking about all the characters, I think for me my favorite character so far has definitely been Wraith. Everything about this character is pretty absurd. So we'll look at her kit now. Our passive is Voices from the Void. Essentially, whenever somebody scopes in on you, she kind of whispers to herself in game, and the team can hear that, I think, for the most part. But if they can't, you can let them know by hitting the H key that you're getting scoped on. Obviously, if you're in a party, this is insanely good as it provides information a lot of the time. I know I've had in-game circles where legit the circle's very small, but I'll push out into the open. The passive will proc. She'll let me know that I'm getting scoped on, and then I can kind of guess where the other team is at. Because you can poke out in the open, it's all due to her Q, her tactical, which is Into the Void. This allows you to basically phase out. So while you're in this state, you can't see anything. The other team can see you as a glimmer, but you're impossible to shoot at. So it basically allows you to rotate to maybe a safe space, or in most cases it's just a reaction to getting shot. A way that I use it sometimes is, if I get the jump on someone, I'll shoot them with a shotgun, and then I'll hit the void, because in most cases people respond to a shot with a shot. So you can kind of void out their shot using that tactical if you use it correctly. The last about her is her ultimate, which is Dimensional Rift. A lot of people don't understand this ability, but for me it's a way to either save a teammate, either rotate your team, or in some cases it's a way to save yourself when the other team is all-inning you. The reason that I like it is, I've had a ton of games where I've had people chasing me, and I put the rift down, and most of the time people will chase after you through the rift. In that case, you can just hold the other side of it, because you're the first one that gets to go through, and cover it with either grenades or have maybe a shotgun or your gun just pointed up on it. So while it might incentivize the other team to go through it, they will get punished if they do. So this is a really creative ultimate, and it takes a little bit of getting used to get good at it. But once you learn the character and learn all of her abilities come together, right? Like, you can cast your rift, start running it where you want to go with it, maybe use your Into the Void, and the Voices from the Void will tell you if you're getting scoped at, so you can just wait until you get your passive proc before you even have to think about queuing, and run a second portal really pretty far with the Dimensional Rift. So really good character, a lot of outplay potential with her in my opinion, and I would say she's the highest of tiers. So if there was a tier A, I would put her in it, and most squads would be happy having her. The next character that I want to talk about is BloodHound, the tracker. So here's another tier A character. I would say very good pretty much in all compositions, and that is due to his passive tracker. Foes leave behind clues for you to find. Essentially, the enemy shows little things on the map if you show up to a spot that they've just been. This takes a little getting used to as well, because there's icons that represent certain things, like maybe they used the heal, maybe they were walking here, maybe they opened this door. But after a little bit of time with this character, you get used to it. They're little circles too, so unless you hover them, you can read like 28 seconds ago it was a door opened. But the more you play the character, the more you'll understand the icons and how long the circle, there's a little spinny that shows the time around it until it kind of decays away. It just takes a little getting used to, but he is incredibly good because, again, he provides so much information, much like the Wraith passive, where you can know where the enemy team has been and adjust accordingly. The other thing that he has is Eye of the All-Father, which essentially is a scan for people that are in buildings. So if there's an enemy team in a building and you scan it with your tactical, you'll get full information on that team camping in the building. So if there's a dude in the corner with a shotgun, BloodHound will know. If not, his passive will show you. This tactical will definitely show you. So this just gives you information when breaching. Insanely powerful. And then paired with what I think is potentially the best ultimate in the game, Beast of the Hunt. Kind of like phases out your screen so you only see gray, and it provides you full information of where the other players are at. They'll show as a blood red, so it's much easier to hit scan with like a wingman or a DMR if you're shooting from range, or a shotgun at close range, right? It's very easy to see the big red. Also tracks footprints, so you can see where the enemy team has ran to very easily. And you move incredibly fast during this time. So there's no way to get away from a BloodHound once he's ulted. It does take a few seconds, so you really want to pop it before you engage. But if you pop it before you engage, it lasts about 30-40 seconds, I think. So it's an incredibly long duration. Don't be afraid to pop this into a team fight. If you're going to all in a team, you need to push someone out of the circle. This is a good time to use it. You have a ton of time. Even just 1 or 2 kills is enough most of the time. So BloodHound, incredibly good. I would say any squad comp could use him. And one of my favorites. So moving on to Gib, the probably best tank of the two currently. So looking at Gib's passive is gun shield, aiming down sights, puts up a gun shield that blocks enemy fire. He's very good as a sniper class, in my opinion, because of this passive. Scoping down with a sniper while you put up a shield, it protects them from hitting you from body shots, so the other person can only headshot you. Just a really good kind of standoff character. His tactical is an incredibly good reset. Being able to throw down a dome is like throwing down a rock around you, right? It's impenetrable for a total of 15 seconds. So there's nothing the enemy team can do outside of walk inside of the dome to shoot you, right? And this gives you some outplay potential. If you see them coming in, you can maybe throw a grenade and step on the backside of it, right? Play the edges of the dome at that point. But it is a nice way to get a good resurrection after someone gets downed, or let's say you get bombarded, which is his ultimate. You can dome in response and protect your team from getting blown up. Speaking of ultimates, bombardment, it's essentially like a grenade that calls in an airstrike. Really, really powerful, honestly. Forces teams sometime to rotate. In my opinion, the most success that I've had with it is using it to kind of stir the enemy's pot. It won't kill unless you've put damage on them, but I think if you coordinate damage with the bombardment, it in most cases is good enough to kill a player or a squad. So you can't just defensive bombardment and expect kills. The other team in most cases will shield through it, but if you push on top of that or put in damage before you call it in most cases it's enough. Pretty good defensive ultimate too, as well as you can use it and then try to get reses with the bubble. Bang, very, very similar to Gib. Also Gib, I would say, is a tier 2. Right under BloodHound and Wraith. Not as good as him, but a very, very good kind of, depending on how your team is playing. If you're the sniper type player, he's definitely very, very powerful. So Bang is another really, really good character. Also has a very similar ultimate to Gib with Rolling Thunder. You call in an artillery strike that slows creeps across the landscape. So again, this is more of a utility ultimate. You won't just get kills with it, but you can use it to either gum up their rotation or kind of get ahead of them where they're going. The most powerful part about Bang is her smoke launcher. She gets 2 charges of it. They're canister based grenade. They're kind of a tube-based grenade launcher. Really good for rotating, really good defensively, really good aggressively. If you want to pinch someone who's hard scoping an angle, you can smoke it and then make your rotation. And rotating is even easier with her because of her passive double time while taking fire. She sprints faster. I find this passive to be really powerful in the late game, either while you're charging the enemy in any gunfight. Yeah, it's just a very good passive. It's always going to get value. You're never going to feel bad having it. So obviously not as powerful as the BloodHound and Wraith. So for that, I would say she's probably a tier 2 as well. The grenade launcher is really powerful. She could potentially be a tier A. You see her in most compositions. And honestly, I really never have an issue having Bang on my team. So really, really powerful. So moving into the tier C's, in my opinion, Lifeline is probably a tier C. In the beginning, I was playing a ton of Lifeline. She was like the main character I was playing. And as I started to play and try out the other characters, I realized she's very powerful, but only to a certain extent. Her main strength comes from her care package, which is her ultimate. Calling in your own airdrops multiple times a game, especially if you get accelerants, which speed up your ultimate, allow your team to be geared out and decked out by the end of the game. Obviously, you can achieve the same thing with stronger characters. If you can wipe a few squads, you can kind of get that gear already. So that ultimate in itself is for much more passive play. If your team's trying to get wins and not really focusing on getting kills, I think Lifeline's really good because of this ultimate. But looking at her passive, Combat Medic is actually insanely strong. When you res a down teammate as Lifeline, her drone puts up a shield that protects you. In most cases, players don't even try to shoot through it or pressure you through it. So I would say I get up players way more often with her because of it. And you heal 25% faster, which is good in some cases when you're getting pressured, when you're trading damage from a range. You know, hitting those shield cells a bit faster, it can be powerful. And her tactical is her dock heal drone, which is a drone that will heal up to 3 people that stand around it, kind of like a healing ward. I find that with Lifeline, I never have to have healing supplies, so that's nice for inventory. And for me, I would always hoard grenades and explodes on her because of this, not having to carry syringes or med kits. You can also give your teammates the Phoenix kits. You don't really need them. And in most cases, you know, late game, if you take health and shield, you can use a full battery shield and put the drone down, right, to get a full heal. So I like her a lot. I think she is good. She's a tier C. She's the utility slot in most compositions. And again, if your team is playing slower or you like to play more passive play, she's very powerful for that. I've also found that looting the storm from like the first or second circle is whatever with her, because you can just drone your health back. So it's not really a big sweat. You can stand in the storm for a long time if you want to get extra loot. So Pathfinder is the next character that is a utility character. Much like Wraith, his passive or his ultimate is a zip gun. So while Wraith can be able to put up portals and run portals, Pathfinder essentially has a shoot a portal somewhere and teleport somewhere with the zip line. Obviously, this can be punished through the other team shooting at you, but I found that, you know, we've won games where the circle is far between us and another few squads, and we've been able to zip line over to the area and hold the circle from the enemy team. So it's really good for that. Or if your team gets tied up on a certain area, you can zip line gun away, retreat. You can aggressively zip line. I think that the strongest part about Pathfinder is the zipline gun. Looking at his passive, it's fairly strong, fairly weak. It's strong if you use it. So when you have a Pathfinder in your team, little robots spawn on the map, or little beacons. And if your team goes and actively looks for one, if you use, I think it takes a few seconds to kind of generate the information, but it'll tell you what the next circle will be. So it's good for that, but again, this is a passive that we're not really getting value out of within a team fight. And for that, that's why I value it a bit less. Grappling hook is very fun. It's very good for yourself as a Pathfinder. However, it's not an incredibly impactful tactical. It's mostly used to chase people down or run away. I have seen good Pathfinders where they'll get a couple shots on you and then they'll come swinging around the corner. You need to be careful of that though, because if you swing around the corner and the entire enemy team is there, you know, your team can't follow up, which is why I think zipline gun is just better. That way your team pushes with you. Just do not stray so far away from your team when you play this character. But he is definitely the highest mobility character that is currently out, and I would say with the zipline gun, he's probably about a tier C. So our next character we're going to look at is Caustic. Nox Vision is his passive. Whenever you hit people with gas, you gain threat vision on them. So essentially, your passive tracks through both your ultimate, which is a big grenade cloud around you that's gas. If someone's standing in it, you'll see them, which is pretty nice information. I've also found that the gas grenade ultimate is good for getting up characters, or kind of like as a smoke vision, almost like a smoke grenade, kind of similar to Bang. If you're really under threat, you can slam it, and it's kind of hard for the enemy to see through the gas and shoot at you. I wouldn't use it like that. More or less, I would try to, maybe a team's camping in a building and you throw the grenade on the ground, and then you'll have full vision of everyone that's inside. Or if the enemy has to come through a choke and you throw the ultimate down, then the enemy will have to run through the gas and you'll have vision of them, right? Very similar to his tactical, which are gas traps. You can put up to 6 canisters of gas that are... You can shoot them to pop them, or the enemy will warn past them, similar to a claymore, and they'll trip, and then you'll have vision of them. So it's a very solid for holding down rotations. You know, if there's one way that the enemy can come and that you might want to have info on, it's very powerful to put a couple gas traps there. The enemy can shoot them themselves and trip them, so you just have to be a little... aware of where you've set them up and what the enemy is doing in response, but you can see them through the maps on the walls. So if you put 3 traps over there and then you look to the right and the traps are gone, but you haven't seen anyone over there, then you can kind of know that the enemy has shot them, right? So the way I look at the Nox gas traps is they're almost like claymores that do a little bit of damage, but more importantly give you vision and give you information. So for that, I would say Caustic's probably a tier 2. He provides tons of vision for the team, and his gas grenade is really powerful in a team fight scenario. And lastly, Mirage, someone that I'm fairly upset is as weak as I think he is. A lot of the reason for him being weak is his ultimate. More or less, he becomes invisible. While he deploys decoys, I think this is something that they hopefully will buff. The decoys that he spawns just kind of stand around and they don't move. So it's very obvious that for the enemy that you've decoyed or you've ulted. But what it does do is it makes you invisible. So it's a good way to engage and sneak up on someone, or it's a good way to disengage if you're getting all-in, as you'll have a few seconds of invisibility where you can juke the enemy. Try to find somewhere safe to start shielding back up. His Q, Psych Out, I've seen it get value. I've gotten value if you've played the character to bamboozle somebody. But I think as players get better, and I know even with the squad that I'm running, we do not shoot at Mirages anymore because we assume the Psych Out is a clone. So, yeah, for that reason... kind of have gotten to a point in the game where I think that this passive isn't doing enough. The clones need to shoot random bullets, or you need to be able to control them once you've cast it, so you can maybe make them change path. But for right now, they just run in a straight line, and so it's very obvious that it's a clone compared to a player. And his passive, talking about how passives in a fight are typically what I like, this passive is only powerful and good if you get downed. So we have a character that can only get value out of a passive from getting knocked, and if you're getting knocked, then I mean, what's the point at that point, right? So I think Mirage is a cute character, and there's going to be players out there that get good at using the Psych Out and the Vanishing Act to engage, but for me personally, I would say he's the weakest and probably the only tier D character in this game at the moment, just because his passive reads only get value if you're knocked, which is, yeah, not really the most effective compared to, you know, a passive like BloodHound where you're tracking the enemies the entire time you're fighting, or Bang where you're getting sped up every time you get shot at. So that's going to be it for my Apex Legends tier list / hero character breakdown. I'm currently really a huge fan of this game. To give you guys a few example compositions, a comp that we've had a lot of success with is BloodHound, Bang, Wraith, or BloodHound, Gib, Bang. We also have played BloodHound, Wraith, Caustic, which is pretty nice for vision. Lifeline is typically our third pick. In most cases, we have a BloodHound for the track, so we might give up a Wraith for like a Pathfinder. So something like Gib, Lifeline, Pathfinder is nice, or Gib, BloodHound, Lifeline. I typically put one of these two, if not both, in a team because of their scouting abilities and their abilities to kind of provide information. You know, with Wrath, you can just push out, find them, have your passive tell you that you're getting scoped on, and then provide info. With BloodHound, you can track. And then we'll put one of these two. These are our defensives, right? They both have the airstrikes. This can grenade, this can shield. They both kind of do the same thing, depending on if the player wants to run and gun or play back and snipe. And then, you know, you have your Lifeline for if your team's a slow team and wants to gear up and get ready for the late game, or, you know, Pathfinder where you can zip in, be aggressive, maybe look for plays. You could even run a Caustic in that third slot, right, for the vision, and, you know, Wrath, Bang, Caustic. There you go. Great composition. But yeah, that's going to be it for this video. If you guys liked it, please make sure to throw a like and subscribe. I might upload a gameplay of this if you guys want to see. I have a really good game that I was playing with one of my friends. Yeah, it was an incredibly fun round. But I don't want to upload it unless you guys like this content. So let me know below in the comments if you do. Other than that, check me out on Twitch and Twitter. Those will be in my description below. Until the next time, though, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you then. Cheers.